To introduce our next exercise and our next part of reflecting on gratitude, I wanted to share with you a story of a doctor, and this is a book he wrote. It's a very old book, as you can see. It's called Peace, Love and Healing by Dr. Bernie Siegel, MD. I'll be writing some of this stuff in the gratitude journey, so in our Facebook group. So you don't have to get it all written down now. And yeah, he's written a book called Love, Medicine and Miracles, which I found very inspiring. And then he wrote this book called Peace, Love and Healing. Very positive doctor. And he speaks about how he was practicing medicine and he was taught to be very neutral. And he was trained as an oncologist. So, sometimes he had to give people diagnoses which were very difficult to inform people about how much time they had left or how advanced their cancer was and things like that. And also, they encouraged him to be neutral about watching people die and keep his distance from his patients. And he got to a stage where practicing medicine became very unfulfilling, and he was just finding it very hard to carry on. So he took a very brave step and he changed his whole focus on being a doctor. He shaved his head and he insisted that all his patients had to call him Bernie by his first name. And he just carried out really radical stuff, like when he was operating on people. He would be speaking to the patient and saying, you're going to heal yourself very quickly, your body's not going to bleed during the operation, and kind of auto-suggestion kind of thing. And he also used to play music during the operations. And his success rate soared. He also started support groups with visualizations for patients to visualize the cancer leaving their body in different ways. A very hugely successful doctor. And obviously he was more emotionally involved with his patients, so in a way it affected him more, but he got so much more fulfillment out of his career as a doctor. And he gained so many friends, and he inspired so many people. I recently heard a talk of his on YouTube about his life, and it was fascinating. And I've heard people's stories, clients, and different people I've spoken to. One was my plumber, who said that he was fired from his job. And because that he was actually fired, he started off on his own, and it gave him so much more independence, and he got more profit, and he's so happy that he was fired. So looking at the difficulties that people have had in their lives and how they've changed those difficulties to become strengths, and how they've gained from those experiences. Another story I heard on the radio recently was this mother whose teenage son was shot by gangs in an inner city street. And it was just such a senseless loss of life and murder. And even though she was poor herself and didn't have many resources, she somehow managed to start up a center for teenage boys to go to. I think it was teenagers, not just boys. Teenagers to go to in their free time, so they wouldn't be on the streets and be prey to gang violence. And that was a hugely inspiring story to me too. So even though it is difficult to see the good that comes out of the challenges that we're given in life, it is so rewarding to start looking for the good and for the little crumbs of good. You know, it might seem 90% bad, but just kind of finding those little bits of good that come out of tragedies, that come out of difficulties, while acknowledging the difficulties and the tragedies. So I wanted us to be able to put this into practice, and to think of past difficulties that we've had and how we felt at the time, and how this difficulty helped us to gain in our life. Now, the gains might not be like a tangible gain, like perhaps the man who lost his job. His tangible gain was that he earned more money, you know. But the intangible gain, and in a way the more worthwhile gain, was that he got more self-confidence, more independence, and more, you know, self-confidence really that he could do that on his own. The doctor achieved more love in his life, more self-development, more compassion. So when we look at these things, we have tangible gains from our difficulties, and we have gains that perhaps we're not as encouraged to value, but really are the valuable things in life. Forgiveness, love, tolerance, you know, compassion for other people, being able to give to other people. These things are so important in life, and we haven't been trained to value these things as much by our culture and perhaps by our upbringing as we should. So the way I thought of this, but you can write it in longhand, but the way I thought of this was writing a past difficulty, because that helps us have more perspective. So a past difficulty, and another column, what did I feel at the time? What feelings came up for me? And the last thing, what did I gain as a result of this experience? So difficulty, feelings, and gains. And I would say try and get like maybe 3 different episodes in your life that you can write about. And in those 3 episodes, kind of tune back into how you were feeling, and then tune back into like what you gained from from this experience. And with all these things, I bring my therapist hat. So as a therapist, I would say also it's a good one to speak to a trusted friend, a listener, or a therapist if you have one, and share that with them, because inevitably we get reminded of the times, and perhaps sometimes there's unresolved feelings around that. And the more attentive we are to our feelings, the more our feelings open up, and sometimes pain comes out. And there is also good in pain, that instead of storing it, we're able to bring it out and experience it. So be sensitive to yourself as well as you do this exercise. And give yourself a good amount of time. So perhaps even 10 or 15 minutes. Set yourself a timer, because I don't really want to kind of dictate how much time to give you, but give yourself at least 10 or 15 minutes for this exercise, and take time to be with it. And press the pause button, and then listen back in to get a bit of a review on that. Thanks.